Alright, yeah, welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today is Historic Brawl Day once again, so I'm actually going to be using the F&M at Home Historic Brawl event to record today's video, as well as a little bit of Twitch footage as well to, tie it all together in the interest of time to make sure that I get as many Historic Brawl videos together anyway. I'm going to use a little bit of Twitch footage, so forgive me for that, but the gameplay that I'm going to use is actually pretty fun, so hopefully you enjoy that. And yeah, the deck we're going to be playing today is going to be a Locust God list. I'm sure a fair few of you who've played EDH are aware of this commander. It's very much built around, in EDH anyway, wheeling your hand, essentially discarding your hand or, shuffling your hand into your library and drawing 7 more cards so that you can make these wonderful little insect creature tokens. We can't really achieve that same goal necessarily in Arena. We don't have that many wheels, unfortunately. But what we can do is we can use a lot of card draw based combo effects with the Locust God, which is pretty fun. So let's get into what our commander is and does, first of all, I suppose. A 6-mana legendary creature with flying. It is a 4/4 and says whenever you draw a card, you make a 1/1 blue and red insect creature token with flying and haste. It also has the ability of having a panic button, essentially, to pay 4 to draw a card and discard a card in order to trigger itself. It says whenever the Locust God dies, return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. So as long as it isn't exiled, that means that you don't ever have to pay the commander tax on the Locust God. You can just return it to your hand and you're good to go. It doesn't work for countering as well, actually. So if it gets exiled or countered, then you'll have to pay the commander tax. But other than that, any death trigger, any combat damage related death, it'll go to your graveyard and then it'll come back on the next end step ready for you to cast it again for 6 mana, which is absolutely fantastic and makes it a complete annoyance for your opponent if they don't have decent ways of removing it. So as I mentioned, we do usually have the Locust God in a wheel style effect deck, and we have 2 of those in the deck. Currently, I believe it's only 2. We have Commit to Memory, which is new from Armenket. The commit side of it is a 4-mana instant to effectively counter a spell. It puts a spell or non-land permanent second from the top in your opponent's library, so it's kind of like a remand, but shoves it into your opponent's deck. It's as good as a counter because you can just deal with it later. And then once it's in the graveyard, you have access to Memory, which is a 6-mana sorcery. It says each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into their library and draws 7 cards. So you will be giving your opponent 7 cards if you're not careful. So bear that in mind when you do use Memory. But in theory, if you're going to be using Memory to draw 7 cards while the Locust God is out, you're probably going to be winning the game on that combat step, since the tokens you're going to create are going to have haste and hopefully a little bit of pump value as well. We do have Midnight Clock as well. This is probably one that you're all familiar with if you've been playing Brawl for any amount of time. It's a 3-mana artifact mana rock that produces blue mana. You can put some hour counters on it, and if it has 12 hour counters on, which come on the beginning of each upkeep, then you shuffle your hand and your graveyard into your library and draw 7 cards. So this is actually a one-sided wheel effect, essentially, and it will shuffle all the cards that you've lost up until that point into your deck so you can reuse them, which is kind of nice. So those are our 2 wheel effects. We do have a few other things as well. As I mentioned, in order to really make the most of this draw 7, we're going to want to make those insect tokens a little bit more powerful. So we have a few ways of pumping them, either when they come out or just in general. We've got Fiery Emancipation, Ogre Battle Driver, and Heraldic Banner. I believe those are the only ones. Let me just quickly have a little bit of, yep, no, there's Terror of the Peaks as well. That kind of counts. These are going to be the ones that end up making our Locusts do a little bit more. So Fiery Emancipation is a 6-mana enchantment that says if a source you would deals permanent damage to a permanent or player, it deals triple that damage instead. So these 1/1s are now 3/3s. That's essentially the idea. Any other additional pumping will triple that amount as well. We also have Terror of the Peaks, which says whenever another creature enters the battlefield, Terror of the Peaks deals damage equal to that creature's power to any target. So whenever a 1/1 enters as we draw a card, then it will have an ETB of dealing 1 damage. It's a nice little pinging value. We also have Ogre Battle Driver as well, which is included in the new player experience. Not many people probably know that this card exists. This is actually a really nice pet deck card from back in the day when I used to play Warp World decks. when you can just give everything haste when it entered the battlefield. Ogre Battle Driver does exactly that. 4 mana for a 3/3. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, that creature gains +2/+0 and gains haste until the end of the turn. So again, these tokens are going to attack as 3-powered creatures, dealing a lot of damage. Finally, Heraldic Banner, a 3-mana mana rock again. You're going to name a color, either red or blue, and creatures of the chosen color gain +1/+0. I don't believe it really makes too much of a difference which color you name. We do have some blue cards in here, like Brazen Borrow and Kira, and we do also have some reds, like Bonecrusher Giant, Popharos's Intervention token, and things like that. You could probably just name either one, and it's going to be down to RNG as to whether or not it ends up mattering. The real fun part about this deck is the card draw side of things, so we're going to get into that one as well, and it's already in a nice little pile in the 4-drop slot here. We got things like Teferi's Ageless Insight, a 4-mana enchantment. If you draw a card except for the first one you draw each turn, you draw 2 cards instead, so everything that says draw a card is going to draw 2, essentially. That's the idea. We then can combo all of our little insect creature tokens as well with things like Reconnaissance Mission from Ikoria. It says whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. So these 1/1s are going to create more 1/1s. And also Coastal Piracy for the exact same effect. Reconnaissance Mission is slightly better because it does have cycling, but there's not really a world where you will cycle this card unless you are horrendously losing. And then finally, Distant Melody. Choose a creature type, draw a card for each permanent you control of that type. So essentially, we're going to name Insect, and we're going to double the amount of creatures we have in play. Also, as well, not to, you know, really take away from the fact that all of these are going to be drawing as cards, which is going to be drawing as answers. The rest of the deck is going to be ramp to make sure we can get to the Locust God as early as possible, because we can get Ruffle Stomped if we're not going to be quick enough. So we got Signets, Idols, Mindstones, Altars. Is it Lockets? Is it Locket also draws cards, which is great. And then it's going to be removal. So we got Slaying Fires, Bonecrusher Giants, Brazen Borrows, as we've mentioned. A little bit of card draw in here as well. Kind of a given, you know, just gonna, you know, incidentally draw a little bit of card draw from here and there. Abrade gets rid of artifacts and creatures. Shivan Fire deals 2 damage in the early game, but can deal 4 later down the line. And then Intervention is basically toll removal as well, dealing twice X damage to target creature or planeswalker. That is essentially the deck. Not too much to go into as far as the mana base is concerned. We got Terramorphic Expanse from Jumpstart, but we've got Reliquary Tower, so we have no maximum hand size, because it's very possible we will draw a metric ton of cards. We're probably going to be winning at that point, so it's maybe a win more, but it really isn't that much of a cost to the deck in this particular case. Cryptic Caves draws a card. I think we've also got Arch of Araska in here as well. We definitely have Scavenger Grounds for a little bit of graveyard hate. Yeah, there's Arch of Araska. If we get the City's Blessing, 10 or more permanents in play, we can use this to pay 5 and tap to draw a card. And yeah, the rest of the deck is just simple mana. Embereths, Vantresses. Oh, I guess Embereth kind of goes in this little pile of pumping your insect tokens, because it has a 3 and tap to deal +1/+0. But yeah, that's all I'm going to go into with the deck. Hopefully you enjoy. If you do, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. It helps out the channel a great deal and lets me know what kind of content you're interested in seeing. But other than that, let's get to it. This video is brought to you by the generous support of our wonderful patrons and channel members that you see here. If you'd like to support the channel and get access to cool content like sneak peeks, bonus videos, polls on future content, or access to a personal deck critique from myself every month, then hit the join button down below, or check out the Patreon link in the description. With all that said, let's get into the gameplay. Good lord, this hand's bad. Actually, garbage. Take the free mull on that. You know what? Sure. We'll take this one. So Kappa is playing Reese the Redeemed, 1 hybrid Selesnya mana for a 1/1 with 3 and tap to make a 1/1 green and white elf creature token. For 6, you can tap it to create a token for each creature token that you control. We're going to go with, I think, just a Thin right off the bat. Yeah, Ronus' Monument, secretly really good. Really good. It's not really much of a surprise to me at all. Alright, I think we've got to go for Arcane Signet here and then pass the turn. I really wanted this down first, but I don't think I've got the time for that. Hey, Born of the Night. How's it going, my friend? Just remembered you're streaming? Hell yeah. You want to go in again after Texan? Alright. You got it. Alright, we need to scribe for an answer here. We're gonna get absolutely ruffle stomped so quickly if we don't. There's cycling a 2 on that. Come on, give me sweepers. Damn it, the Locust got any better? No, I ain't changed it. Divine Visitation, oh boy. That's a big one. Heraldic Banner. Alright, so we do get down the Locust God, which might be on time if our opponent doesn't have any kind of interaction. It's gonna be a tough one. Champion of Lambholt, yep. Also a card that needs dealing with very quickly, but we can actually deal with it. Ooh. That's rough. Yeah, that might just do it, honestly. Alright, Banner on... Oh, I actually don't remember whether it's blue or red that you want to name with this deck. I'm going to name red. Three, 6, 7, 8. So we can cast the Locust God next turn. Do need to deal with the Champion of Lambholt, because any creature entering the battlefield is going to pump that and eventually make it unblockable. We could get it later, though, but the more we wait, the more expensive it's going to be. I guess I'd go for Teferi's Ageless Insight here, because I might just have to thirst for knowledge next turn to find a sweeper. I honestly wish I could add Divine Visitation to any deck, but this one, it would not be legal. It would be against the rules. Ooh, we passed. If we passed, should I just go for Locust God again? What are we holding off on? Oh, I know what we're holding off on. Yeah. Alright, I need to thirst for knowledge. Our opponent's about to convoke into many tokens, and we can't be having that. So we're going to get rid of the tap land and the Cryptic Caves. Play the Mountain. And that was a really good hit for us, by the way. Alright. Pass. Creates a token, which is actually a... yeah, actually an angel. It's not what I thought it was. I was expecting the Convoke, make X tokens, Anointed Procession, yes! Alright. Game on. Now this is going to be interesting. I'll trade that off. Given the chance. So this doesn't hit creatures with flying. Which is certainly awkward. So I think we go for this now. Don't know why I didn't do X4. I could have done X4. God lord. Why am I that bad? Locust guards. Yeah, it's a massive punt. Absolutely horrendously huge punt. I had my Arcane Signet untapped. I don't know why I thought 3 was going to be good enough. And why I didn't just go for 4 in this, just for the sake of it. Alright, I will have to take the damage here. It's not game over. Technically. Okay, so... we can do Fire Prophecy. Hit you, discard, lock it, draw 2. Play the island. Damage to an opponent. Play Coastal Piracy. Swing with everyone but Locust Gods. So there's one easy block and then one trade-off if they want to take it. Okay, so we're only drawing 2 and we're getting rid of a Angel token. Ooh. Okay, and now I need to deal with the Champion of Lamholt. Twice X damage. Max possible damage on that champion now, since I missed that opportunity. Is it as good enchantment removal? Oh, absolutely, yeah. 100%. Alright, we didn't actually have to block there, which is great. So now we get to go Terror of the Peaks. Let's do double draw with Locust Gods. Heroic Intervention, okay. So I can't target their stuff. We're going to discard Vantress. And these are just going to have to go to face. This is instant speed. I can't do the Slaying Fire side of it, though. We could do Secrets of the Golden Sea. I don't think I'd really need to do that, though, right? There's also a draw here. I wonder if that's enough. If we draw here, we make 2 more 2/1s. That's 4 points here. Then we cycle Forgotten Cave. I think we've got lethal, actually. Make 2 more 2/1s. And then it's all attacks in. We deal all that damage. And then we draw 2 for every single creature that deals combat damage. And, you know, we didn't have to go for our Locust God necessarily there, because we would have doubled the amount of 2/1s we had, and for each 2/1 entering, Terror would have been able to hit our opponent. Why didn't they say opponent's face? I'm actually surprised by that. Okay, so we are in. We've got Tail's End to deal with our opponent's commander, though I don't imagine that's actually going to be the thing that we have to counter here, but I think Tail's End against the Kenrith deck is actually going to be pretty decent. Other than that, this hand's mana is a little bit awkward, but I think we can afford to keep this one. We're going to go Terramorphic Expanse for an island, so we can turn to Opt and work our way through there. I'm not sure it's necessarily worth the free mulligan, though. I could see a hand that ends up being quite better, to be honest. So yeah, our opponent is playing Kenrith, the Returned King, one of many different variants of this deck. Could be our opponent's choice. The usual one with Kenrith ends up being a Shrines list, Because anything else, you tend to want to just play with Niv Mizzet Reborn, which I'm really glad that we're not playing against that, because it's just not fun. So I think I'm just going to go Forgotten Cave tapped, and then we'll go for the Opt, I suppose. Our opponent's really successfully ramping up here, getting all the colours into play, and we're going to lead with a Solemn Simulacrum. So if they are playing against the Shrines list, then the Tails End's actually pretty good, because all of the Shrines are legendary, so we get to counter that. We also have the counter next turn as well for Kenrith, if they are just kind of a mid-rangey list, and choosing to play that next turn is definitely available to them. That's really awkward. That is really awkward. Next turn I need to hold up and Tails End, so I'm pretty sure I don't want that. And an Embereth is also a tap land, but thankfully Vantress is not. The issue is here, though, that doesn't really help me, because any of my mana dorks will lead me to 1 mana, and I need my 5 mana up and now, so I guess I am going to Fable Passage and crack for a Mountain and hold up and Tails End here. I'm sure there's a big boy legendary that's coming soon. Alright, well, they've got Board the Weatherlight. I think this means they're playing Shrines, but we'll find out soon enough. So they're going to reveal a historic card, which can be a legendary permanent, and yeah, it is Hondens and Shrines, or Hondens and Sanctums, or Shrines, just Shrines. And Honden of Infinite Rage is one of their WinCon Hondens, so it makes me want to get rid of it, especially because it can actually eventually start pinging off all my stuff. Though going after something like Sanctum of All might be more ideal. I think I'm gonna go for the Tails End here. I'm just gonna assume that it works out for us. And let's go for a Mountain here so our Embereth can come into play untapped as well. So got all of our basic types now. And we're going to take 2. We are going to drop our guards so that we can play a Heraldic Banner, I think. Don't tap like that. Or that. Tap like that. I want them to see that we've got blue mana up, and it can actually dictate what our opponent does quite a fair bit. And we're going to name blue again. I'm just going to really solidify that I'm holding up and blue mana right now. I think it's very important that our opponent knows that I can counter a thing. Grim Tutor. Alright, so this is going to go grab Sanctum of All. This is a reason why we maybe should have kept our wonderful, wonderful tool of destruction, aka Tails End. I'm assuming that's what they're going for anyway. They can literally grab anything they want. They do know that we're going to be able to play Locust God next turn, so maybe they go for a counter spell. Entirely possible, though I doubt it. I'm going to tap out for Drawn from Dreams, okay? I don't think that's what they grabbed with Grim Tutor. I think they grabbed Sanctum of All, and now they're going for the Drawn from Dreams just to essentially thin out some Sanctums from their deck, because they get to play one with a 2 or 3 mana Honden / Shrine Sanctum, whatever you want to call it, available following it. So I think we're just going to slap the Locust God down, see what happens. Could very well just lose in no time at all, so I've really got to constantly pressure our opponent with the Locust God. Going to go for a Wrath of God, fair enough. I do not want him to go back to the command zone, because he'll come back to my hand on the next end step. So I'll just replay him next turn for 6 mana again. Okay, and Captain Sisse can start searching out legendaries, so we don't want that. So we're going to go Embereth. Can I do Locket as well? Not really, no. I do need to kill Sisse. So I think it's going to have to be Locket, Clock, Dragonfire. Sisse basically represents all the Sanctums and Hondens in their deck, so I've basically removed one right there, which is kind of nice. And Midnight Clock starts ticking now, so we can get that draw 7 for the Locust God. Again, we do want a turn where Locust God comes down and gets to do its thing. Ooh, opponent actually plays Kenrith. That's usually like a I have nothing better to do kind of cards. It's making me think that the Grim Tutor grabbed Wrath of God, to be honest. Ogre Battle Driver. Okay, so let's play the Locust Gods. And I guess I should have played this first. I kind of want to play it now anyway. I guess we could go with the Locust God, draw and discard, or I could go with the Intervention, kill Kenrith. I think I want the Intervention, kill Kenrith, to be honest. Twice X, we're going to do 3. Yeah, I kind of didn't sequence this turn the way I'd want, to be honest. So let's just deal with their commander and pass the turn. Keep it going, Midnight Clock. Keep it going. So really, at this point, what we're looking for is card draw. The main thing we want, though, is our pirates, coastal piracy cards, things like that. The whenever a creature deals combat damage, you draw a card kind of effects. Because that honestly is absurd with the Locust God. Opponent's got a Murderous Rider. Okay. Well, again, we're going to decline putting in the command zone, and this time we actually do get to replay the turn that we just had, but in a better fashion, playing Battle Driver first. They've got 1 white Honden down. 2 mana for maybe the black Honden. Oh, Fiddle the Dead's here. And a Maze Mine Tome. Alright, they're basically not in a great spot. Forcing themselves to go for a Scry here. I would have personally just waited and gone for the draw to if I was them, but a Braid. A Braid on Maze Mine Tome is fine. So we're going to go Ogre Battle Driver. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, it gets +2, +0, and haste. I use this mostly for the tokens that the Locust God makes, which is why I kind of didn't process the Locust God itself getting the haste. But it's definitely a good way of us pressuring. They did top with Maze Mine Tome, so it's got to be something good. Not really in a rush to use a Braid just yet. Though the Maze Mine Tome is probably the best target I'm ever going to get. Storm's Wrath. Okay. Again, back to my hand end step. And this is kind of why the gods from Armenket are so good as commanders. It's just because they're repeatable and they never really suffer from the command attacks. And so, yep, go back to hand. Halfway towards Midnight Clock. We could probably tap a little bit better than that, can't we, Magic? We can definitely not tap the Cryptic Caves and make a 2-1. Do something like that. That sounds like a sane person's tapping. Alright, let's draw a card, make a Locust. Which will have haste and we get to swing, keep that pressure up. Shivan Fire. It's fine. It's not great. I am going to... actually, I'm not. I'm going to go tap lands, and then we're going to get rid of the Maze Mine Tome. Stop them from improving their draws the best we can. Because they seem to be on top decks quite nicely here. And that's where I'd like to keep them. Eat to Extinction. Alright, they have finally caused command attacks to apply to my commander. And yeah, we are going to put it back in the command zone. This is only when it dies you return it. So let's get in with our 2-1. So once the Midnight Clock gets to 12, then we draw 7 cards and make 7 2-1s with the Locust God, which is going to be pretty decent. We're getting kind of close to that, and our opponent is presumably running out of answers. They're doing pretty good to keep up with it, though. All things considered. Reliquary Tower is fine. Does this tap make sense? I don't think it really matters. Yeah, 3 mana is not going to do anything other than tap Midnight Clock for another counter, and we can do that with any mana. So our opponent will now gain 6 life, 3 tokens which can't block, and 3 mana. So they're starting to stabilize. But we should have a very good board state. Because I'm going up to 10 with Midnight Clock, and I can just pay 6 mana to make 7 Locusts. Next turn, if they don't have another Wrath, I'm gonna go with Kenrith. And they could haste it up if they wanted to swing through for 5 points of damage. I imagine they've not got anything better to do. What could that last card be, actually? It feels bad to speculate on the worst case scenario of that card, because things like Settle the Wreckage come to mind, and I don't think it's a good idea to play around Settle the Wreckage. And we know it definitely isn't now, because they would never tap it out there. They would always leave it back for a Locust God kill. So we know it's not that. At the very least. They're going to gain 10 life with Kenrith. That does actually make a great deal of difference. And Field of the Dead triggers. And we're going to put a counter on the Midnight Clock. So we are going to pop off, as the kids would say. Alright, so 1, 2, 3. I actually need some blue mana in there. Actually, instead of the blue mana, we tap it, because it's going to get exiled anyway. And then we draw a brand new 7. I think any 7 we could draw is probably better. Ooh, Fiery Emancipation. Would that do it? It's pretty good. I mean, even if it wouldn't do it, it's definitely the play to make, is just tripling up all this damage. And yeah, swing in. 29 damage. How about we deal 6 with every Locust and put them on -40? Alright. Locust God takes the victory. We definitely won that one because our opponent was a little bit dirtly. They didn't get the best Hondens. And I'm pretty sure they went for the Grim Tutor on Wrath of God. That's got to be the pick for them there. It was either Wrath of God or it was the Drawn from Dreams. But I imagine it was the Wrath, just so they could try keep pace. But they would have actually been better to go for Eat to Extinction, which they found later on. But yeah, Locust God doesn't really care too much about the Wrath side of things, because he just keeps on returning. He's great, and I love him. Alright, let's go for another game. Okay, let's have a look. See, we don't have a turn 1 opt, but we do have quite a lot of card advantage with this hand, so I am inclined to keep it nonetheless. Thirst for Knowledge can probably find us the mana rocks we need. And yeah, this is a weird one. Ideally, we want an answer to Joda, our opponent's commander, so we'd need a 3 damage burn spell. I almost think we mull this hand, actually. It is a free mull. Stand a chance of getting a better one. And this one's actually much better. We still don't have the answer to Joda necessarily, but a Pact of Negation's kind of nice, and Kira can have its uses. I'm mostly kind of in love with the mana base that we've got here. It's just absolutely fine. Absolutely fine is good with me. So our opponent is playing Joda Archmage Eternal, one that we played on the channel before, but in a very janky format. I imagine our opponent isn't playing anything much different to that. Ooh, Commit is actually not terrible. If we find a mana rock, we can get ahead of Joda, I think. And we can certainly stop our opponent if they've got mana dorks. But yeah, it's a 4 mana Jeskai 4/3 Arcane Signet. That is not a mana dork we can interact with. Ooh, Midnight Clock. Alright, so our opponent is going to be able to play Joda. We can commit it, I think, back to second from the top, which might end up doing that. Because you do not want this one to stick around at all. Because its ability, being a flyer, just makes it 5 colors as well. You may pay Wooburg rather than pay the cost of spells that you cast. So essentially they can play anything they want as long as it is 5 Wooburg mana. So they can play a 10 drop for 5 mana, for example. Opponent's going to go with a Wishclaw Talisman, which we are forced to resolve. But it might not be the worst thing in the world anyway, since our opponent is forced to give us that card. The Wishclaw Talisman, which has its uses, actually. This would allow me to go for Locust God next turn. So I think I keep this. And we can also hold up and commit now for Joda. Or whatever they go for the Wish Claw on. Yeah, if we were going to Wish Claw, we would probably go for Coastal Piracy. Or the Ikoria one, which is called Reconnaissance Mission. It's the same thing, however it's got cycling. I'm going to go with a Golgari Locket. I don't know what they're actually ramping into necessarily, but that, you know, it tends to just be play the most expensive spells you could possibly muster. And I'm sure that's what our opponent is doing. They're going to pay for the Wishclaw Talisman to go get the most expensive spell they could possibly muster. And they found it. Okay. But we don't have to care, because we've got Pact of Negation. So I'm going to go Mountain. I'm going to play the Locust God. Our opponent is going to go for their wonderful little play. And I'm probably just going to Pact it. Flood of Tears. Yeah, no. That allows them just to rebounce things, and we don't want them to do that. Alright. This does mean that we're shields down. Ooh, that sandbar really kicking in the nuts right there. That would probably be exceptionally good, to be honest, if it was untapped right now. Be able to hold up in the tail's end, which has its uses, for sure. Yeah, I just don't know what I want to do with this. I don't think I want to activate the Wishclaw Talisman just yet. Could go for a cycled Sandbar. I should have done it pre-combat. You know, better late than never, I suppose. Is it Locket? Alright. We do have the City's Blessing now for the Arch of Araska. And our Midnight Clock's at 7 as well, so we're going to be drawing some cards pretty soon. Great. Everyone's favourite card. And steal my Midnight Clock, as you do. I love it when I don't need to play cards, because my opponent just kind of steals them from me. Alright, we're going to go for Coastal Piracy here, or one of those. Probably the Coastal Piracy, since the other one has cycling. We'd probably rather cycle it. I'm just going to get in and draw loads of cards. Pump to 9, make 4 1/1s, draw 4 cards. Unless our opponent just kind of outright wins the game next turn, I think we're going to be okay. Terror of the Peaks is a good one. We're just going to Evolving Wilds here and grab an island. And I'll just pass the turn, see what our opponent can do. They get a free reign of whatever. But they've already ruined the game by playing Agent of Treachery, so it is what it is. I'm going to get rid of the island. And, oh, we also got to get rid of something else. Let's get rid of... Is it Locket? So they need to go get like a board wipe with Wishclaw Talisman or an I win the game card. Judging by the fact that they just shocked in, means they've got something pretty decent in hand. Yeah, Omniscience. That'll do a fair bit. Gruul Locket allows them to go get any card they want. Thanks to the Wishclaw Talisman we just gave them. From there, we've already seen Flood of Tears. So, actually, it could be Scholar of the Ages, I think it's called. The 7-mana wizard that pulls 2 instants and sorceries back. That's an infinite loop with Omniscience and Flood of Tears. It's probably what they've grabbed. Overflowing Insight, draw 7. Yeah, I'll probably also do it. Won't be my first pick, but I don't know what their deck looks like, so... They do need to win right here, by the way. I'm going to point that out. They need to win right now. And they appear to have not done that. And I have Commit Open and Tail's End. So, yeah. We're going to go with... Mountain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Only got 2 mana open, so I can't hold up and commit, but I've already got lethal in the air. commit for Settle the Wreckage. Nope. What next? Should have picked a better win con, my opponent. Should have picked a better win con. Yeah, they should have 7 mana Scholar in there. It's really just kind of as Joda decks go, as someone who's played one before and has infinite looped their deck and played every single card in it. Yeah, get the Scholar. The Scholar would pull back this Overflowing Insight and this Flood of Tears, as an example, and then Flood will bounce everything, undoing all of my gameplay, re-putting the Omniscience in play, reusing the Agent of Treachery to steal all my lands, and they could just loop Flood of Tears and Agent to steal my lands, and, you know, in, out, until I've got literally nothing left, and that could be their win con, and then they could just beat me with a 2-3 until I'm at 0 life. That's an option that's available to them. They would have to contend with potentially decking themselves, I suppose, but didn't seem like they had a problem with that. They'd already stole my Midnight Clock anyway, so yeah, really cocky there with the Overflowing Insight. I think they didn't really expect to probably whiff with whatever this hand is, but they sure as hell did, and Sell the Wreckage, not good enough. Fantastic. Alright, well that is going to do it for today's video. If you did enjoy the deck and you want to see more Historic Brawl, let me know down in the comments section below. Other than that, hit the like button and subscribe if you're new to the channel. It helps out the channel a great deal, and I greatly appreciate it. And yeah, without further ado, going to end it off here. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.